I live in Tari now.
This meeting is being recorded.
In Tari.
In Surrey. Did you say?
Tari, mid-north.
Oh, Tari, I'm sorry. I thought you said Surrey.
It's the center of the universe for some of us.
For some of you.
I apologize for not making the last meeting, but on the Saturday, my wife and I said we have not been anywhere for 3 years. So we jumped in the car and drove to Surfers Paradise on the Saturday, and then stayed the next 10 days locked up in a 16th floor unit on Surfers Paradise with gale force winds, rain, didn't go on the beach and drove back home.
Beautiful one day, better than the next.
I think they had good room service food.
Marilyn, President Marilyn, I have that thing ready on my desktop, so whenever you want to
we'll start the meeting
go
now.
ahead with it.
Okay, well, welcome everybody, and we have some great number of visitors tonight. First of all, Sarah Werrett. Sarah's there putting a hand up to wave to you. Sarah is our Assistant Governor. PDG Margaret Blowie Hutchinson, who is PDG from Manchester Breakfast. President Khan, over to the other side here, is also from Manchester Breakfast. And Madhu from the E-Club of Melbourne, regular visitor to us. And we have a special visitor, the principal of St Canis' School in Katoomba, Miriam Meany, who will speak to us a little while later through Lucian. So welcome everybody. Great to see you all, and I think I've covered all the guests tonight so far. Right, we have some apologies tonight from Rojal, who is in Nigeria and visiting his family until next month, and also, who else? Kaan's here, that's great, and Vince is working tonight, so he may join us on the phone, but he won't be able to speak tonight. Our guest speaker tonight is Tanya. Tanya Zerkik has started the Little Blue Shed, and I'll ask Lucy to introduce Tanya for us, please.
It is so much fun for me to meet great women. I love meeting great women and men too, but tonight it gives me great pleasure to introduce Tanya. We have lots of serendipitous connections. I met her through Rotary. She is a member of the Rotary Club of Tari, which Grace is the president of this year. And Tanya also has a great love of Africa, as I do. And she also works with vulnerable women and children in Uganda. So we've had some great conversations over the wonderful handiwork that she's brought back from Uganda in her very clever little blue sheds, which I'm sure she'll show you a picture of. And she's gotten fantastic traction in the Rotary world. She was featured in an article in the issue before last of Rotary Down Under. So if you haven't seen that, be sure and look for that article. And she's really done a fantastic job of connecting with communities in not only the Manning Valley on the New South Wales mid-north coast, but in other areas as well. So I was really glad that she was able to return back to her second home, Uganda, not long ago. She'd been away for months here in Australia raising money for her projects, but she's now able to be back with her love of her life, her husband, Jonathan. So take it away, Tanya.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good evening, President and members. Thanks for that great introduction, Lucy. I can see you. Unfortunately, I'm sorry that my video camera is not working. I'm still trying to get settled into Uganda because I arrived back about 8 days ago. and it's very hot here. And I hope that the internet doesn't go, because on Sundays, apparently, our internet lines can go. So I'm just praying that I'll make it through my presentation without any disruptions. I think Dudley was going to put up the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. Is it possible to make that a large screen? Fantastic. Okay, so thank you. So I've been introduced. My name is Tanya Kursik, and I'm a Rotarian at Taree Club. I spend a lot of time in Africa because I'm also married here. But yeah, I pretty much have two homes. If you can go to the next slide. Is it? Yeah. So yeah, and then click again if you can, Dudley. So I have two homes, one in Uganda and one in Australia, and I've been living and working in rural Uganda for about 7 years now. I live within the community, which has given me great opportunity to identify gaps where the Little Blue Shed can assist. So unlike Australia, we don't have running water, and what you see on my head is a jerry can. That's basically, we go to the borehole and collect water. And I have to tell you the truth, there's no water in my jerry can because it's quite heavy to put on your head. But this is the kind of environment where I love to go and be with the community and assist wherever I can. If you can turn to the next one. So just to show you, in case you don't know, if you can click again, Dudley. Yeah. So Uganda is a landlocked country. Our population is about 45. No. If you could go back one. If you could go back, yeah. Previous, yeah. Yeah. Back. Okay, thank you. So our population is 45.7 million. We have 48 tribes, and Australia is 32 times bigger, with half of the population. So we've got quite a few people in Uganda, and we don't have any beaches. So when I do come home to Australia, I go straight to the beach for a swim. But Uganda is known as the Pearl of Africa. When Churchill was exploring all of Africa, he named Uganda the Pearl of Africa because of its beauty. So it has a lot of natural beauty. Unfortunately, there is quite a bit of poverty, and that's due to a lot of corruption and things like that that go on in the world, a lot of the evils of the world. So you can turn to the next one, Dudley. So just to zoom in further, I serve and live in a place called Soroti, which is circled in the red, and the population is approximately 300 people. And we're in eastern Uganda. So I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of rebel activity in northern Uganda where the boy soldiers were taken. Don't know if you remember that, probably 10 or 20 years ago, but I'm very close to that area. And so there's been a lot of backlash from that civil war. You can still see remnants of it around. So that's basically the area that I'm in. If you could turn to the next one.
Come on.
It's
While we're waiting,
on African time.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you see a series of faces down the side of the screen there, or is it
At the top.
you can't see me and a couple of others down the side? Because that's what
I can see you and Marilyn. Yep, I can see you and Marilyn and the club secretary.
Right.
And Kian. And Kian.
I'm trying to get out of
Hi,
that.
Kian.
Keep going. I'll
Okay.
In the best
Okay,
way.
so the Little Blue, just to give you a background on what the Little Blue Shed is, it basically started in a blue shed when I went over in 2010, and some women had one sewing machine in a blue shed, and when I came upon that village, they asked me, could you buy us more more sewing machines? And I said yes. And so we extended the blue shed, we put more sewing machines in there, and I was sitting there one day and I thought, how cute, it's a little blue shed. So that's basically how the name came about, and it's stuck since then. So Little Blue Shed is a grassroots organisation, and our key objective is growth and sustainability. We're located in the village called Kabramato in East Uganda, and work very close with the community to assist those girls most in need. So if you could turn to the next one. Okay, so we have a big heart for working with vulnerable females such as teen single mothers, young girls in danger of prostitution, early marriages, trafficking and domestic violence. So because of the poverty level, young girls are lured into, you know, come to Dubai and do some house cleaning and we'll pay you good money. And what actually happens is they're taken over there. Actually, on my flight back, it was interesting. I was traveling from Dubai to Uganda, and I ended up next to a couple of girls that were exactly in that situation. They were coming back from Dubai, and they had been promised the world that they're going over to, you know, do housework and they're going to get paid good money to send back to their families. And it was such a terrible experience for them, as they were telling me, because they were made to work like 18 hours a day, really hectic situations. So there's a lot of exploitation in work. And then our single young mums, they're also there. They've been lured into different situations, as in, you know, I'll provide for you your menstruation pads and the different things you need in exchange for sexual favour. And then the girls end up falling pregnant and having babies at a very young age. So all of these kind of dangerous activities are out there, and young girls that don't have anyone to mentor them or advise them get trapped very easily into this situation. So with the Little Blue Shed, we love going to schools and sensitising the girls about the danger of that, but mostly giving opportunities, giving skills and opportunities to girls so they're not in threat of this happening to them. If you could change, please, the slide. And human trafficking is the third biggest industry now. So there's a lot of girls that have been lured and trafficked out. Some don't make it back. Some organs are taken from girls' bodies, and all sorts of things are going on. And I know, like, living in Australia, we don't really hear, or maybe we want to turn a blind eye because it's too painful, but it's actually a reality in many countries, in many developing countries. Women and girls are really vulnerable and open to this kind of activity in the world. So in rural Uganda, girls as young as 14 and 15 that can't afford their basic essentials such as menstrual pad and soap, out of desperation, like I was saying, they go and have sex with a man to provide for them, and this is the cause of many unwanted teenage pregnancies. So we see the key has been education and employment is the only solution. By educating and empowering girls and women, and mainly what I try to focus on is girls between 7 and 16 for school, and then 16 to 25 for skills, because after 25, most girls have kind of went on and they've got their own kind of mindset about how life should work. So to be most influential, I go for the, you know, the younger girls and the ones that are from 16 to 25. I've found that when I work with these groups, they're easier. It's a lot easier for them to be mentored and to move into positive lifestyle changes. So Dudley, if you could change for me. Yeah. So many young girls are trafficked out of Uganda to other countries for cheap labour and sex work. Poverty has led girls to desperation, making them extremely vulnerable to the evils of the world. So that's a picture of me, because you can't see me, but that's me there in the picture. And this is a beautiful shot because I went to talk to a group of ladies. It was a spontaneous shot. We were trying to start a village savings, and they were walking me back to the bus stop to say farewell to me. But it just really captures the essence of what the group is about. And it's just, I just love that picture because it really emphasizes that they love coming together and doing group work. So we found that education and empowerment is the only solution. If you could change to the next one. So working in the community, what kind of things does a Little Blue Shed do? Program for single young mums. We learnt 5 skills. That was tailoring, paper bag making, baking, liquid soap making, and brown paper bags. So this was a pilot group that I ran, and it ran really successfully, actually. It was all single young mums. They learned their 5 skills. They chose their top 2 skills that they loved, because we know when you're doing something you love, you excel at it. So we kind of gave them a smorgasbord of skills. And then we started a shop and taught on sustainability and how to run that shop. And then I also do teaching on budgeting. So once you get your money, how are you going to spend it? You know, we don't want you to go to the salon and spend it all on hair and nails, but think about your kids, think about school education and medication and all that sort of thing. As you know, probably in Africa, we don't have government support of any type. So there's no single mum's pension, no like Centrelink. So it's pretty much you're left to your vices for survival. And so these programs that I put in place are pretty much to help girls get their skills, and then teaching on sustainability. So our outreach visits to women and girls encourage them to start their saving groups and small businesses. So encouraging them to put a bit of money aside each week and then working as a group, and supplying menstruation kits and personal care items to girls, mentorship for girls. So I find that when I'm mentoring girls, there's a lot more change that can happen when you're doing one-on-one and you're really caring and loving people and girls, that they can make great progress, and I've seen that. And school sponsorship for girls. So I run a program called Girls on Purpose, and I actually go to the villages myself, and I choose girls between 7 and 16 who we get to school. And they're mainly from vulnerable families where their parents, there's no way they can afford the school fees. So mainly when you're in these villages, young girls of 7 have taken on the responsibility of an adult. So you'll see a young girl carrying a baby on her back that doesn't belong to her. She's doing the cooking, she's doing the cleaning. So she's taken on a mother role at a very early age. And so I try to talk to the families and try to pinpoint those girls and get them to, you know, go to school and at least learn something. Because if they don't, by the time they're 15, they'll be married off for dowry. I don't know if you've heard of dowry, what it is, but it's basically, you know, you get married and then the women's family provides the man's family their animals, like the sheep and the goats, and that basically means that it's supposed to be a beautiful appreciation for the girl, like looking after the girl, looking after her and giving her education, but it's kind of turned into a bit of ownership, like now I own you and I can do anything I want with you. So if they're not going to school, by the time they're about 15, they'll be married off in the village. So that's something that concerns me, and something that I try and get involved in terms of getting them some kind of school sponsorship for the girls. So if you could turn next. I'm doing the Days for Girls. I've just seen, hi Ross, there is a lot of Days for Girls. Yeah. So I'm in touch with Girls for Days here. And we're organising some menstruation kits. So Little Blue Shed, we take a holistic approach. So we look at the income generating side, like I said, the tailoring, shoemaking, liquid soap and brown paper bags. While I was in Australia for the past 8 months, I was doing a lot of focus groups with women in Australia and finding out what products do you want us to make. And we're really going to focus on products to export, so we can make it sustainable and get the money back into the project to run all the programs that we want to run. So there's a group of core products that we're going to start to make. I think we're starting them in September. So if you want to keep updated, you can just put your email address in the chat and I'll add you to our mailing list so you can keep updated with what we're doing. If you could change it for me, Dudley. Thanks. So we'll do the economical side, and then we've got business skills. So I teach on bookkeeping, sales support, confidence in selling, sustainability, and running a successful business. So that is a part of what we do. If you do go to the next slide. And so the emotional side, trauma counselling, encouragement, and group sharing. And then to the next. So physical, teach on diet, health, hygiene and stress management, and the menstruation kits and all that sort of thing. falls under the hygiene, and also on sex education. Like, I'm really big on going to schools and talking to young girls about, you know, how valuable your body is and not to be going with men when they're trying to con you and that sort of thing. So the last 2 years, as all of us have experienced, was quite difficult, the COVID period. So we suddenly became experts in mask making, which we never thought we would, but because everything pretty much shut down, including our product exports, we had to make an income from making our masks. Could you turn to the next one? There's a comment that came up, but I can definitely answer all of those when we're done. Dudley, are you able to go to the next slide? Okay, so in that time, we managed to make a few blue sheds to ship them out with our products. So we started to make these merchandise stands to give the logo and the whole concept around the blue shed. We decided, I worked with the men's shed actually in Australia, and we came up with the concept of making merchandise stands where we could put all the jewelry that the women make, scrunchies, headbands and things like that. And they collapse, they're all collapsible. And then we were shipping them out, and the idea was to ship them out and get money back in so we could utilise in projects. And we did manage to ship out a couple, one to Scotland and one to the US during the COVID period. However, there's a few now in Australia with a couple of the Rotary clubs that are selling and then giving back the money. So that is one of our initiatives to make the project sustainable. If you could turn to the next one. So what is our future vision and where to now? So that COVID period really gave us a great opportunity to reevaluate where we were going to go from there. And one of the things, well, three of the things that we're looking at is involving the whole community, not just the girls and the women. The reason I say this is because although we see the women as the girls as the most vulnerable, we also need to educate the men as a part of the community, because men will generally come and take the money from the women and go and use it on drinking or some other activity. So if we can also put an education program in for the male community and make it holistic, we will find that we'll probably get better results. We're needing our own land to carry out our activities and no more paying rent and having a stable location to build on. So one of the big highlights was really that we really needed our own base. And so if you could turn to the next slide. So we did a bit of an evaluation of the community challenges, and this is kind of a scene that you'll see in most of the villages, and there's a lot of alcoholism and drinking. And it's not through laziness. Most of the time when I speak to most of these groups that are sitting around and drinking, it's because of hopelessness and frustration and just nothing to do in the villages. Apart from, Uganda is very big on agriculture, so going out and digging in the morning is what most people would do in the villages, but then all of the afternoon there's nothing really to do. And in the rainy season it gets worse because even you can't go out and dig. So if you could turn to the next slide for me. So as we were evaluating the community challenges, there was substance abuse, unemployment, early marriages, unwanted teen pregnancies, prostitution and high risk of human trafficking, mental health issues. So if you could turn to the next one. So the vision from there was to develop a community empowerment or sustainability village in eastern Uganda. And we've acquired in my husband's village, we've actually donated 3 acres in a remote village community to build on. So that's what it looks like at the moment. Nothing going on at all, but it's there and it has great potential. And this is one of the villages that are kind of, You can be in town like Saroti where I am, and there's a lot of opportunity, but when you go further and deeper into the villages, there's no opportunity for youth. So that's why I really wanted to target the most remote kind of rural communities. If you could turn to the next one. So this is just an artist impression of what hopefully the vision will look like. We're first going to start with the little blue shed. So it will be a shed and a training centre, and the shed will also be for counselling meetings as well as other development programs and education. And then we'll have a long training centre, which will probably have 3 or 4 rooms. We'll have a toilet and then an African kitchen. This is actually now registered as a Rorke's project, so that it's tax deductible. So basically, I don't know if you know much about the Rorke's project, but you can set it up, you get your donors, they can go through the Rorke's system and they give you the tax deductible receipts. So that was a really good thing to have, because a lot of my church members wanted tax deductible receipts. So if you could turn to the next one. So what will go on in the little blue shed, we'll have the skills and income generating activities. We'll be doing English classes, Bible studies, purity classes, counselling and prayer, and emergency safe drop-in and trauma centre. So through my 7 years of being in Uganda, I've taken a lot of women and children into my own home when they've been thrown out of home and they've got nowhere to go because there is no government support. I had a year of looking after families, and so that didn't really enable much stability. So what we would love to do is make a section for an emergency drop-in centre, and when women come to live there, they can learn a skill, and once they've learned that skill, they can be integrated back into the community. If you could change, yeah. And then the men's shed. So that will be the little blue shed component. I really loved how the men's shed worked, and I thought we could replicate that. And their skills would be things like carpentry, metalwork, mechanics and shoemaking. Again, English classes, introducing substance abuse recovery program, because there is a lot of addiction, but there's no AA, there's no kind of programs to help people get off alcohol. Even if they wanted to, they would have no idea on how to do that. So, and then counselling and prayer, drop-in trauma centre. If you could turn to the next one. Then the third component of the empowerment village would be a youth shed. Again, we would introduce skills and income generating activities for kids to come and do on school holidays, which would give them their school fees. You know, donations are great, but they're just not sustainable. Like anything can happen, like COVID, or the sponsor can no longer do it, and that means that the child can't go to school anymore. So I prefer to do things that are a little bit more sustainable, and if they can get skills and do something in the capacity of making shoes or whatever we assign them to do, we can then send that money to their designated school. They'll have English classes, Bible studies, substance abuse recovery program, a mentorship program, and a counselling and trauma drop-in centre. Thank you. Next one. And then we'll also have a baby care centre, so that while the mothers are training and working in the centre, we'll also be taking care of the toddlers, doing activities and educational games and things like that with them. I ran that as a pilot group for 6 months and it worked quite successfully. I didn't know how it was going to go because African babies are so attached to their mums, usually on their back, but it went fine, and whenever the babies needed their mums, they would just come to the baby drop-in centre. So that worked really well. Next one, please. So what I've been doing the last eight months, I was in Australia fundraising and trying to get money for this building and the equipment that we need to get this going. So donations for our Rorke's building project. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. We will be looking at utilising the money that has been donated so far, probably in September, October, to start building. And as I said, if you want to be included on our mailing list, I can give you regular updates on what we're up to and how far we've gone with the building and the other income generating activities for the girls. If you can go to the next one. So to donate via the Rorks, you can go to www.littleblueshed.info. That is the Little Blue Shed website, so feel free to have a look as well. I've got a couple of other programs running. One is called a Sisterhood Club. You can become a sister, and that helps us get menstruation items and personal care items for girls in the village. That's for the tax deductible receipt. So as you go onto the homepage, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, give to our building project. If you go in there, it takes you straight to the Rorks project, which is the Little Blue Shed Empowerment and Sustainability Village. And if you go to the next one, or if you wanted to donate direct and you're not worried about a tax deductible receipt, there are the bank details, which I can also send if you feel that you want to get involved, if you want to partner with us to build this great project, then I can definitely send you those details. So if you go to the next one, I think that is the end. Also, if you want to, as I've mentioned, subscribe to the Village News, you can go to www.littleblueshed.info and subscribe to our Village News. Or if that's too hard, just go email tanya@littleblueshed@gmail.com, and I'll be doing a monthly newsletter updating you on all our hot news from the village and what we're up to. And the next one. And I think it just says, yes, thank you for listening. So thank you very much for listening to what we're up to here in Uganda. As I said, I've just arrived back 8 days ago, still getting over a bit of jet lag and also readapting back to the African lifestyle. But we will be really going full force from September with a lot of these projects. I am involved in Days for Girls with my Sisterhood Club. The Sisterhood Club is basically you get a club card with your name on it. You get a Little Blue Shed necklace, which the ladies from the Little Blue Shed have made, and 85% of the contribution, you can become a big sister or a little sister. A big sister is $120 a year, little sister is $60 a year, and then that money will go towards buying the menstruation items and the personal care items for the girls. They will be placed in the Blue Shed, and so we will be targeting the vulnerable girls and giving them those items. A lot of girls miss school because they don't have these personal care items. So it's a really big challenge in the villages. So I am working with Days for Girls. I've been in contact with the Uganda branch and we'll be getting some kits sent to me that we'll be distributing. So that's what we're up to. And I know some questions have come up. Were the children affected? Can I have a look through the chat now, or do you want to ask the questions? How do you want to do it?
Tanya, I think the best thing would be to go through those there, and then if we have
okay,
there may be some hands up, but you can
yeah,
that bigger so you can see it better. But
yeah,
yes, so
yeah. So I can see it.
You can see them all.
Yeah, Ross said is yep. So Ross asked, is the Days for Girls program being implemented? But yes, it has. Yep. So there is a Uganda branch. I've also been talking to the coordinator in the US. So I think there's a coordinator in the US. She talks to Uganda. They're trying to keep all of the activities in Uganda so the women can make money from making all of those items. So it is available in East Africa. That's that answer. So Val says, hi Ross, there are a lot of Days for Girls projects in Rorks. It is a separate company. Yes, but we can partner with them, and even you can do an enterprise. So if we wanted to, we could start a Days for Girls enterprise on the Little Blue Shed project site, but we'll see how it goes. And we also educate girls on hygiene, how to use them. And we all involve men and boys from the community so they understand all of that, all of those issues, those female issues. What are the core products that your research with Aussie showed? So we found that shoes, so we're going to do a lot of shoes, handmade shoes with recycled car tire at the bottom. and crocheted. I wore mine, and I got a lot of women asking me where they could buy them. So we're going to do a range of thongs and shoes for summer. We'll be doing baskets. Basket weaving was a big one, so doing different types of baskets, and doing bags, African bags and laptop bags. Just really useful items were the feedback that I got from women in Australia. Are you the only person guiding? Who else is employed? Okay, so I'm the person that's pretty much the connection between Australia and Uganda, but I have a team of people here as well. So we have our social worker, we have, my husband is a builder, he'll be doing all the building aspects, and the social worker, I've got a team of trainers, which are women leaders. So there's a group of us on the ground, but because we haven't had our own stable environment for people to come to, we haven't had an office as such, and that's what we're trying to get. That will have an accountant, that will have an admin person, a marketing person. So we're trying to, formulate the organisation to be able to run bigger projects. But we're still a small organisation at this point. How are the sewing machines powered? So we've got the foot pedal machines that don't need any powering. But if we are to get power, we'll definitely go with solar. How did you start doing this? What inspired you to first go to Uganda? Okay, so back in 2007, I went over to see my sponsor child in Kenya. I had a very good job actually in Centennial Park working in marketing and communications. But when I went over to visit him for 2 months, I really got touched by the amount of suffering and the amount of poverty and kids not going to school. And so when I arrived back to Australia to my job, I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sit behind a desk anymore. So I went and did teaching English as a second language with the grand plan of going over and teaching kids for free. But what actually ended up happening, I started the Blue Shed instead. So that's what inspired me. And then when I started to assist the women and girls, it kind of just took over my life because I enjoyed it so much. I guess I found my calling in it and my purpose. And so now I live here as well. You may be familiar with School of Life Foundation in Uganda. Do you know if any of the girls have gone on to school there? I'm not sure of School of Life. That's from Ross. I don't know where that is. Do you know what part of Uganda that's in, Ross?
Tanya,
Is Ross there?
It is far from Soroti. It's near Kampala. I think about 3 hours from Kampala.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've heard of School of Life. Is that a lady in Australia?
Yeah, Anna
that runs that? And
yeah.
Oh, okay. So Lucy told me about that school. Yep. So I've heard of it, but I've never visited. What religious organisation? No, I'm not involved in a religious organisation, but we are Christian-based and we teach Christian-based values. Hi, Tanya. Were the children affected by COVID? Yes, very much so. Our schools were shut down for 2 years without school. So there's a lot of catching up for the kids. They only went back to school in 2020, I think about March. So, yeah, it was greatly affected at that time. Thank you for the compliment of wonderful work. And yeah, near Kampala. Okay, got it. Yep. So are there any other questions?
Just use your reaction down the bottom if you want to put your hand up. Nobody else? Lots of questions there anyway.
No.
Thank you.
I've got to say, quick question.
Yes, Murray.
Your little blue box that you send out for people to sell, how do you charge them for the box, or do you send the box on? And what does it cost?
We send it on because, so the little Blue Shed box is a part of our identity, so we don't sell it. So it's a part of our logo and our logo and our organisational identity. So what I was doing to begin with as a starting phase is just putting the products and sending them. And then as they were being sold, they would send me back the money. But obviously, as time goes on, we're going to work out a better structure where we can get the money up front, because it's more important to pay the workers upfront, then wait for sales. But just because of our income capacity, we just had to do it that way because people weren't willing to buy upfront. We will be selling online. The Little Blue Shed will have a capacity for online sales, and I'll have a distribution centre in Australia. So as we're making these products, I'll be shipping them. I did quite a bit of sales in Australia for 3 years via, when I was living in Australia, the Little Blue Shed ladies were sending me things over and I would be selling them. That went really successfully. So if we have the distribution centre, we can do online sales. And since COVID, online has become really big because of the the retail, the lack of retail activity. So I believe through different marketing channels we could market online, and then also those people that are interested to buy wholesale could buy a Little Blue Shed box of the different things that we make, and whether they want to put it in their retail shop and make a bit of money on top of it or whatever. At the moment, Grace has got one in Taree, and then we've got one in Old Bar Rotary, and then we have one in Laurelton. And I've just left the sheds that the men's shed made for me with a stack of products, and then when they sell them, they just put the money back into the account.
Well, thank you, Tanya. We'll need to move on now. And I thank everybody for listening so intently. I didn't see anybody fall asleep. Even Dudley stayed awake. Thank you.
Good.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And yes, if you'd like to just give the ordinary acclamation, thank you. And if you need, I will give everybody the details that you've given us for your organisation.
I go into Phoenix.
I do. I see your hands up. Is it, or clapping? Clapping, I think. Yep.
It's clapping.
Thank you. Grace, I did ask you to just spend about 2 minutes just to mention your project, and we only have about 2 minutes tonight, but we could ask you back another time. Grace is a past member of our club, and she is now president of the Rotary Club of Taree. Thank you, Grace.
Thanks, Marilyn, and thanks for the opportunity to say hello, and good to see familiar faces. The short story, one line, I gotten married in the last 7 years, and then I become a GP specialist, fellow under Australian College Rural Remote Medicine. And yeah, now I'm the president of Rotary Club of Taree. But for those who I haven't met, I was a member of the E-Club back in 2013 to about 2015 when I was a cruise ship doctor in Royal Caribbean. I thought the E-Club has that flexibility so I can still attend Rotary meetings. But we were in America, in the Bahamas, and I would have to wake up 3 a.m. to attend the meetings. 2016, when I came back, I joined the fellowship training in Oberon, and I thought a face-to-face meeting is what I like. So I joined Rotary Club of Oberon and helped them. There were 3 remaining members, and I helped them reinvigorate that club. And I left Oberon. They were having 8 to 10 members. So 2018, I joined. I had to do my advanced diploma in obstetrics in Taree, because Butters didn't take me. So they're lost and Taree's gain, and now I got stuck here because I bought a house. It's too hard to move after you've built the house and done things on it. Anyway, so I didn't join Taree Rotary until 2019 when I finished my fellowship exams. And so now this year, when we have the first lady Rotary International president, I'm president at the same time of Rotary Club of Taree, which is fantastic. And we just recently had a masquerade ball, Christmas in July masquerade ball in July. And so, yeah, and now I run my practice as a women's health GP. Thank you. That's 2 minutes, Marilyn.
Thank you, Grace. And we'll ask you to talk about your project next time, which is HIRAYA. How do you use that as your acronym?
Hiraya. It's the Women's Health Clinic.
Yes, thank you.
Grace, we
Thank
still
you,
remember
Grace.
that amazing ship tour that you gave us many,
Oh,
many years
yeah.
ago.
Oh,
That
yeah,
I still
yeah.
got very fond memories of that ship. You very generous with your time, and you allowed us all from the E Club at the time to. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. To jump in the
Everybody
ship
had to
for
have
a
a
day. Yeah,
passport.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
had to bring your passport, didn't you? Because
Yeah.
you're going offshore
Yeah.
into the harbour. Thank you so much, Grace. Now, I think we'll go now to Lucian, who would like, I'll let you do your community report and introduce your guests for tonight, please.
Okay, community report. We've started up a decaf cafe in Katoomba itself, and it's running well with two other clubs, Central Blue and Up Mount Sunrise, and it's running quite well. We had 2 meetings and it's been well taken. So yeah, so that's been fantastic. The other one I'd like to do is introduce you to Miriam. Miriam is there's a very important job for me. She looks after my 2 grandchildren. She's the principal of primary school. And Miriam, we've installed a peace ball in conjunction with Katoomba Rotary and the E Club in Miriam's school at St. Canice's in Katoomba. Miriam, would you like to say a few words?
I would indeed. Well, first of all, thank you all for welcome. Thank you, Lucian, for sending me the Zoom link, and thank you all for welcoming me tonight. And Marilyn, thank you for giving me a moment. I'll be brief because this event hasn't happened yet. I'm always much more comfortable talking about things that have happened than things that are about to happen. But we're extremely grateful to Lucian, whose daughter drew our attention to the Peace Pole project, and Lucian organized a peace pole for our school. So you may know that, you know, it's been a big initiative of Rotary to get peace poles into schools this year. So we feel very lucky that we're one of those schools. And our peace pole has 4 languages on it. It has Auslan, it has Darug and Gundungara, which are a local indigenous languages, because Katoomba sits in both areas, and then we have English as well. So the plan is that we actually have a celebration on a ceremony on the 16th of September, marking the fact that we now have a peace pole. It's been erected for a little while. The children have been very curious, and we've decided that we invite Rotary to that. And we have quite a formal little ceremony involving our student leaders and Rotary. And we will, I guess, you know, cut the red ribbon on the peace pole that day. And the really nice thing about that is 5 days later, we've got, in fact, the World Day of Peace. So our peace pole is there. Everybody knows about it. The children will be very excited to participate in the kind of things we do in schools to mark these occasions. I just very quickly, we are a Catholic school, and I suppose the fact that, you know, our Christianity tells us whenever Jesus was among people, he said, peace be with you. So that's a really lovely thing for us as a faith community. And also the fact that we can really connect with our Indigenous culture. We have a wonderful woman who contributes to our school who's called Auntie Carol, and she'll be very much front and center at that event as well. So just to round up, I wanted to express my gratitude to Lucian in particular, because I didn't know anything about this until he organized it for us. And also, Lucian, thank you so much for encouraging me to be here tonight.
Thank you, Miriam. Thanks, Lucian. And I saw Lucian put his the photo up. Hold it up again in case people didn't look over there. Can you see Lucian's photo of the peace pole that is in the school at St. Canice's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I will go on with other matters for our club now, but everybody is welcome to stay, but I'll just keep moving on with other matters because as time is getting away, and some people, they're just come home for breakfast, I think, Margaret, or sometime like that in England, but we'll...
I had an early breakfast, Marilyn.
Before you went to church, did you? Thank you. Okay, President's report. I'm going to be very quick tonight, which is odd. District President's meeting I attended the other day, and all board members received a copy of my notes from the President's meeting, and also on behalf of the Treasurer, who is visiting family, all dues have been paid for RI District and RDU, so that was great. And I'll be sending a questionnaire to all members in an email. I'd like you to answer that because I'm trying to build up a profile of the work that all of our members are doing in the various places around Australia and in the world. Thank you. Dee, did you have a report tonight or anything to report, please? Secretary? Dee?
No, I don't, Marilyn. There's nothing really.
Okay, thank you. You, Kian?
Yes, Marilyn. For those of you that don't know, we had a bit of problem earlier on with RYLA, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. They could not secure the facility they have been using for a number of years because the facility was being sold for next year. They ended up having to secure Knox Grammar School in North Sydney. Unfortunately, because of that, the prices shot up drastically. And at last board meeting, we were discussing about if we were going to be able to support a RYLA candidate. We had a candidate that had to be put on hold because obviously last year RYLA couldn't go ahead because of the lockdowns. I've been talking to Liz North, who's currently the coordinator for RYLA. She assured me today that they have managed to, after discussions with Knox management, secure the dates for 15th to 21st of January, and the price has been slightly reduced. She did say that they tried both Ripen camps. Unfortunately, they were not available, and they have tried every other place they could think of, and nothing was available for the dates they required. That's why they are trying Knox as a one-off, and she was hoping that we will be able still to send a candidate. She also said she understands our predicament that we are not majorly into fundraising, and she's more than happy to, if we do decide to share the cost, she'll be happy to find us another club that will be able to support us in that endeavor. She said to me she would send an email to every club by Wednesday this coming week, and she expects the cost to be around $1,250 to $1,290, which is less than the $1,500 she quoted us originally. With that in mind, I'm just gonna, she also said that they have contacted every candidate that had been put on hold already to see about their availability. I have not been in contact with Bayan as yet because I just wanted for the board to decide if they were going to actually support his candidacy, or are we going to refer him back to the district for the other clubs to support him in this respect. With that in mind, also got to remind you, Ripen prices have also gone up. So if you are going to send any candidates to any of the youth camps this year, we might be facing a lot more money than we had previously budgeted for.
Thanks very much, Kian. And we will that'll be able to be brought up at the next board meeting, won't it? Thank you. Thank you. Tony Miller, our Club Service Director. Tony?
Thank you, Marilyn, President. I just wanted to bring to the club members' attention, reminding them that and thanking them for 25 of them at least, of about 33, who completed the member satisfaction survey. So what we've done, there's been some analysis done of that. It's been given to the board, and it contains recommendations, and those recommendations will be spoke at the next board meeting, and whatever the result is, it's going to be communicated to the club as a whole. Club visioning is part of the strategic plan that the club board has decided to embark on. District has a club visioning support, and that is Robert Bredden, and Robert is going to be attending our club, that is the entire club, on the 11th and 25th of September, which are actually alternate Sunday, so there'll be the 2nd and 4th Sunday, but it's not going to be a lot of your time. It's only going to be a very, and when I say not a lot, it'll be like 15 minutes to 20 minutes to do actually online, but there's a little bit of homework to do, not a lot. When I say not a lot, probably less than half an hour, but all of it will go to helping us develop a vision and be included into a strategic plan for the future, and it around leadership, around membership, and about what other members believe is important for the ongoing nature of the club. So please look when the emails come out or it's on our social media, please read it and take it in, because this is all about the club, not about me or any one board member.
Tony, can I just ask you a question?
Please do.
It's Murray. In my time at Rotary, the last 10 years, I've managed the club to do 2 visioning exercises, which are really, really, really high end if you're going to do it properly. And the thing that disappointed me with doing the visioning one was not having a commitment by the club that the next coming president would work with the visioning statement built by the previous president. And I think if you're going to do this, you need to have the clubs saying we're going to follow this for the next 5 years or whatever you decide, and the oncoming president cannot dump it, because a lot of work goes into them. And I did a lot of work at North Lakes Toukley on it, and it was dumped by the next president.
Yeah.
And that
Totally
just broke my heart. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's really good feedback, Barry. Thank you. And I think that would be brought out. I mean, if it happens in the visioning process that the club doesn't want this, then so be it. It's about encouraging people to get on board. But if they don't want it, you can't force it down their throat.
Exactly.
So, and that way,
but
hopefully,
some commitment by the club that the next coming president is going to adopt it, at least the next one.
Well, that's right. I mean, really, it's just a basic question of, well, in the next 5 years, who of us are going to be here?
Yeah.
Sort of thing, you know. So there you go. So that said,
okay, you've got membership Sunday to talk about.
Yeah, just membership. Just briefly, it's a goal of the board, particularly Marilyn's, and it should be the club members' goal as well, that membership is so important to a club. It's the lifeblood of our club. Without members, we don't exist. So we've been, a few of us have been talking about, that is Oscar, Ross, Marilyn and myself have been just discussing it briefly. What does it look like? Are we ready for some sort of change? Because it might be, and we've talked about, when it's a possibility we need to target younger members, that being 18 to 35, let's say, for example. And we have, in a way, have some instant target groups, in that we have RYLA alumni, we have Rotaract, and we have the general public out there. So we've been working around how we might deliver something like this. It fits with the strategic plan, and so there's discussions going on about that. And at the board meeting next week, there'll be a presentation done on where it's all at and how we can communicate that to the membership at large. The last thing is the 5th week. So, if you're not aware, there's 5 weeks in 4 months of the year approximately. One is in April, one is in January, and one is in April. We had earmarked October as one, which it is, but unfortunately, or fortunately, dependent upon where you'll be, the national conference is in Canberra on that.
It's Zonate. It includes New Zealand and Pacific Islanders as well.
My apologies. It's a really big conference that's will be part of the 30th of October. So that probably says it's not a good weekend to do some sort of fifth weekend, because there'll be a lot of Rotarians at it, unless the membership again say, like I could say, how many of you that are on the screen now, of which there are 16, are going to the conference? I can see 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 11 of you who aren't going.
Yeah, but I'll be in East Timor, so you can count me out.
Oh, well, there's, so we're back to 10. But we have 30 odd members in this club. And then there, I'm sure, if I based it on the statistics I just saw, there'll be a lot of Rotarians out there that we could hold it on the 30th.
Do we have a host date, Tony, yet? I know we had the committee before.
Yeah, we don't have that yet. We still have time for that. But
Okay.
I'm just getting a feel from just the meeting here tonight. I'm not saying it'll go ahead, but it's a recommendation to the board. The board needs to decide. It's not my decision. But I have had some wonderful support. Marilyn, Judith, and through Doug and Lucy around the fifth week event, maybe in April. For Lucy mentioned, she was talking about helping out with the fifth week and attracting some funds towards a project. And Doug was talking about maybe linking the fifth week to an environmental event. So there is a bit of work going on, which is good behind the scene, but I'd love to see members who aren't necessarily on the board get on board and have a go with a few of their compatriots and organise a fifth week event. Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you so much. I had a question there from David about regionalisation. Our next club meeting, we will have the district, one of the district teams speaking to our club, and we hope more people will be there. But Robert Breeden will be speaking to everybody about that, because I will need to put the vote of the club into the district by September, I think it is. I've got all the information separately, but please try and be at the next meeting for that. We have just 2 minutes left, and those 2 minutes, I think, were for the environment group. Judith.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn, and good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the positive comments we've had about the environmental initiatives and so on. You probably all know that we are aiming on going for gold, seeing as we are one of the very few clubs in the district who've got both bronze and silver. To get our gold award, we have to do something within the club, even though we've got so many amazing global projects out there with Rorke's already. We have to do something within the club. So that's why my team came up with these initiatives. I hope you've all printed them off or had a good look at them and decided. The idea is that you just tick the things that you are doing each week. That's what the 4 columns are for. Tick what you do each week, then do it again. You can have a rest next month and then do it again in October, and then send the information back to myself, and Ross and Doug and myself will collate it and find out where we have improved. Now, in some respects, I look at it and I think it's a really, really tiny steps. I've just listened to a webinar from Climate and Peace and the massive projects that some people are doing. And I think, well, you've got to start somewhere. So let's make these small steps, easy steps, but they're all little steps that will make a difference. So hopefully I can get you all involved. Hopefully you'll all be excited about it. We also have another exercise coming up. So like Tony, we're giving out lots of homework over the next little while, going back to my school days. We've got a very exciting exercise called measuring your carbon footprint and working out how many planets you need to live, how many planets the world would need if we all lived the same way. And it's a case of working out how much your carbon footprint is by, how many times do you shower? Do you have a big car, small car? What sort of aircon do you use? Do you buy books or use the digital or whatever? It's quite interesting. It doesn't take that long. Doug's done it and Ross has done it, and I've done it many times with schools and so on. So we'll be handing that out soon, just so that we can work out as an E-club, if everybody in the world lived the same way that we do, how many planets would we need to do it? And also I find listening to our guest speaker tonight, and plus all the, we know because so many of us got projects overseas, so many of the overseas developing countries are a whole lot better than we are. I don't know whether it's because, you know, I'll have to be careful what I say here, but I know I look at working in East Timor and they are much better than we are as far as environmental consumerism, etc., is concerned. But do we have the right to say to them, you can't have that, you don't need it, when we're overusing it? So I think we've got to find this wonderful balance somewhere where we help developing countries lift their living standards, and we may be encouraging developed countries like ours to drop our living standards somewhat. So anyway, so that's what the environmental project is all about, just to get us to realise what we're doing, think twice before we buy that extra bit of clothing, think twice before we get that takeaway cup, think twice before we, you know, hop in our car and go for a drive when actually it's somewhere we could have walked to, etc., etc. So really it's just a whole exercise to make us stop and think environmentally a bit more often, because we are getting to the stage, I think, where our planet really needs our help. So as Rotarians, let's give it to them. So thank you anyway for being involved, and I look forward to seeing the results and see how much we have saved over the next 4 weeks, and then compare that with 4 weeks later.
Thank you.
So thank you everybody for being involved.
Thank you. Lucian, did you have your hand up?
I did. I was going to talk about the regionalisation, but I'll leave it until next fortnight.
No, you don't need to, because we have a special speaker next week. Thank you. Thanks very much. And is there anybody else who needed to say anything urgently? Great.
Good night.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for coming tonight. And we got around all the problems. Thank you, Madhu. And thank you, our other guests have left, but thank you. Great to see you back again, Jenny. And yep, that's good. Okay, well, our next meeting, we'll have Robert here to speak to us about regionalisation. If you're talking to any others of our members, please encourage them to come to that meeting, because they need to understand what it's about before we vote to say yes or no to it. Thanks very much, and good night to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Another good meeting. Well done.
Thanks.